Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into the world of code generation with large language models.
LLM.
LLMs, yeah.
Yeah.
You know those AI systems that can already write simple code like it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen some pretty amazing progress.
Uh-huh.
But things get a little trickier when we start asking these LLMs to tackle more complex tasks.
Yeah.
The kind that require deeper algorithmic thinking.
Right.
It's kind of like asking a novice cook to whip up a 5-course meal.
Right.
They might know the basics, but to really craft that refined dining experience,
Yeah.
that takes another level of skill.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And you, dear listener, are here because you're interested in a new method
Mm-hmm.
called Outcome Refining Process Supervision,
ORTS.
ORPS. It's a way to help LLMs level up their coding game,
Exactly.
especially for those tougher problems that usually leave them stumped.
Yeah, it's a pretty ingenious approach.
Okay.
Imagine an LLM that can act as both the programmer and the code reviewer,
Oh, wow.
constantly learning and refining its work just like a human would.
So the paper you shared uses this analogy of a tree-structured exploration space
Right.
where the LLM can try out different solutions
Uh-huh.
and kind of refine its approach as it goes.
Exactly.
Can you walk us through how that works?
Absolutely. Think of it like a choose-your-own-adventure book for code.
Okay.
Each step, the LLM encounters a decision point.
Got it.
Do I use this algorithm or that one? Or do I structure the code this way or that way?
Okay.
Each choice leads down a different branch of possibilities.
Uh-huh.
And the LLM needs a way to figure out which paths lead to the most efficient and elegant solutions.
So how does the LLM know which path to choose? It's not like it has a human programmer looking over its shoulder, is it?
Right, and that's where the self-critic aspect of ORPS comes in.
Okay.
So instead of relying solely on external feedback,
Yeah.
the LLM analyzes its own code
Interesting.
using a set of predefined metrics.
Okay.
It's almost like having a built-in code reviewer.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
The LLM is critiquing its own WN work. How does that even work?
It's pretty fascinating. So the LLM evaluates its code based on things like cyclomatic complexity,
Okay.
which basically measures how many different paths of execution exist within the code.
Got it.
It also looks at things like execution time,
Uh-huh.
how long does it take for this code to run?
Right.
And by analyzing these metrics, the LLM can get a sense of whether its code is not only correct,
Okay.
but also efficient and well-structured.
So it's not just about getting the code to work.
Yeah,
It's about getting it to work well.
exactly.
And it's doing all of this on its own
Right.
without needing a human to constantly give it feedback.
Exactly. Now, before we dive deeper into the specifics of ORPS,
Okay.
let's take a step back and look at how LLMs have traditionally been taught to code.
Okay.
There are two main approaches
Right.
that researchers have been using: outcome supervision and process supervision.
Okay. Remind us what those are again.
Sure.
Just a quick refresher.
So outcome supervision is kind of like grading a student solely on their final exam score.
Mm-hmm.
You only care about the end result. Did they get the right answer?
Yeah.
This approach works okay for simple tasks,
Right.
but it kind of misses the nuances of the problem-solving process.
Right. So the code might work,
Yeah,
but it could be inefficient,
exactly.
poorly structured,
Uh-huh.
or difficult to understand.
It's like getting the right answer,
Yeah.
but showing your work in a way that makes your teacher cringe a little.
Exactly.
Now, process supervision is a bit more like giving feedback on each step of the problem.
Okay.
So instead of just looking at the final answer,
Uh-huh.
you're also evaluating the reasoning behind each step.
I see.
And to do this, researchers use something called a process reward model, or PRM.
Okay. So the PRM is kind of like a tutor that guides the LLM towards a better solution.
You could say that, yeah.
Okay.
The PRM provides feedback on each step of the LLM's reasoning process,
Right.
rewarding it for making good decisions and penalizing it for making bad ones.
Okay.
But here's the thing, these PRMs can be tricky to create.
Really?
They often require a lot of human annotated data,
Oh, I see.
which can be expensive and time-consuming to gather.
Right.
Plus, these PRMs can sometimes be a bit unreliable, especially when it comes to evaluating complex reasoning steps.
Okay, so we've got these two approaches. Outcome supervision, which is simple, but misses those nuances of the process.
Right.
And then process supervision,
Yeah,
which is more comprehensive, but can be expensive and unreliable.
exactly.
And this is where the aha moment of ORPS comes in, right?
You got it.
Okay.
ORPS offers a pretty clever solution by leveraging a unique characteristic of code.
Uh-huh.
it can be executed and tested.
Okay.
So instead of relying on human feedback
Right.
or potentially unreliable KRMs,
Yeah.
ORPS uses the results of code execution as its primary feedback mechanism.
So instead of asking a human, hey, does this code make sense?
Right.
ORPS lets the LLM run the code and see if it actually works. It's like giving the LLM a virtual playground to experiment and learn from its mistakes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where that tree-structured exploration space we mentioned earlier becomes crucial.
Right, the choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Wow.
ORPS doesn't just search for a single solution. It explores a whole range of possibilities, like different algorithms and coding strategies.
So at each decision point,
Right.
the LLM can try out different paths
Exactly.
and see which ones lead to the most desirable outcomes.
Exactly.
This is getting really interesting.
Yeah.
So the LLM is constantly trying out different approaches, testing them, learning from its mistakes,
Right.
and refining its strategy as it goes.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's developing its own coding intuition.
That's a great way to put it. And this ability to learn from execution feedback is what makes ORPS so powerful.
Okay.
You know, it's not just mimicking human-written code. It's developing a deeper understanding of the underlying principles of programming.
Okay. I'm officially hooked.
Great.
But before we dive deeper into how ORPS achieves such impressive results, let's take a quick break.
Sounds good.
When we come back, we'll explore the fascinating world of generative rewarding and discuss just how much ORPS can outperform traditional methods.
Awesome.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Before the break, we were talking about how ORPS lets LLMs learn by actually running their code and seeing what happens.
Right.
It's such an elegant solution compared to relying on humans to provide feedback at every step.
It really is a game changer.
Yeah.
It allows these LLMs to learn in a much more independent and scalable way. And remember that tree-structured exploration space we talked about?
Right, the choose your own adventure for code.
Exactly.
Can you elaborate on how that actually works within ORPS?
Of course. So at each decision point in the code generation process,
Okay.
the LLM has to choose which path to take.
Right.
Like, should it use a loop here or a recursive function?
Uh,
Should it prioritize speed or memory efficiency?
right.
These are the kinds of choices that human programmers grapple with all the time.
And with ORPS, the LLM is essentially making these decisions on its own,
Exactly.
using that self-critic we discussed earlier to guide its choices.
It's not just randomly trying at different paths.
Right.
It's analyzing its own code,
Okay.
considering things like complexity efficiency and even readability.
Oh, wow.
It's like having a built-in code reviewer that helps it catch potential issues before they even arise.
So it's not just about getting the code to work.
Right.
It's about getting it to work well.
Exactly.
This LLM is a real stickler for quality.
And remember, it's using execution signals as its guide.
Okay.
Did the code run without errors?
Huh.
Did it produce the expected output?
Yeah.
Did it meet performance benchmarks?
Okay.
These are the questions that ORPS uses to evaluate the success of each path.
It's like the LLM is constantly A/B testing its own code,
Yeah.
seeing which variations perform best.
Exactly.
I imagine this leads to some pretty remarkable results.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
The research paper you shared highlights some really impressive findings,
Okay.
especially when compared to other state-of-the-art methods that also use execution feedback, like reflection and LDB.
I was particularly struck by the results on the LBPP dataset.
Oh, yeah.
Can you remind us what that is?
Sure.
And why it's significant?
So LBPP stands for Little Book of Programming Problems.
Okay.
It's a collection of programming challenges that are typically seen in competitive programming,
Got it.
the kind of problems that require a deep understanding of algorithms and data structures.
So it's not just about writing simple functions.
Right.
It's about solving complex algorithmic problems.
Exactly. And that's where ORPS really shines.
Okay.
On LDPP, ORPS consistently outperformed other methods in terms of both code correctness and efficiency.
What's really fascinating is that ORPS achieved this level of performance without even having access to the unit tests from the LBPP dataset.
That's right. It actually generated its own test cases to guide the learning process.
Wow.
Which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Just imagine the possibilities if we were to provide it with even more comprehensive test cases.
It's like this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what ORPS can achieve.
Now, there's one more key element of ORPS that we haven't discussed yet.
Okay.
The concept of generative rewarding.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about the LLM acting as its own critic?
Right.
Well, traditional process reward models.
Those PRMs we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
Okay.
They typically work in a discriminative manner.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It means they simply assign a numerical score to each reasoning step, like a teacher giving you a grade without explaining why you got that score.
Okay.
But ORPS takes a different approach.
All right.
It treats the process of generating rewards as a reasoning task itself.
So instead of just spitting out a number, the LLM actually has to justify its evaluation.
Exactly, before assigning a score. The LLM articulates its analysis of the reasoning chain and the execution outcomes.
Wow.
It explains its judgment, taking into account factors like algorithmic complexity, code structure, and performance metrics.
Interesting.
It's like having the LLM write a detailed code review for itself.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's not just learning to code, it's learning to think critically about its own code.
And the research actually shows that this generative reward mechanism used in ORPS outperforms traditional discriminative PRMs.
Wow.
Even those that have been explicitly trained on human annotated data.
It sounds like ORPS is pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible with LLMs.
I think so.
And I'm sure our listeners are wondering what this means for the future of software development.
Yeah.
Is this the end of human programmers as we know it?
That's a great question, and one that we'll explore in more detail after a short break.
Okay, sounds good. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been unpacking this fascinating new method called ORPS that's teaching LLMs to code in a way that's both efficient and elegant.
Right.
But now I'm curious. What does this all mean for the future of software development?
Yeah.
Is this the beginning of the end for human programmers?
That's the question everyone's asking, isn't it?
Yeah.
While ORPS is undeniably a huge leap forward, I think it's more about augmentation than replacement.
Okay.
Think of it like a powerful tool that empowers programmers to work smarter.
Okay.
Not renders them obsolete.
So instead of fearing for our jobs, we should be thinking about how these AI-powered tools can free us up.
Exactly.
To focus on the more creative and strategic aspects of software development.
Exactly. Imagine a world where LLMs handled those tedious, repetitive coding tasks.
Okay.
Like generating boilerplate code. Or debugging simple errors.
Yeah.
This frees up human programmers to focus on the big picture. You know, designing innovative solutions, architecting complex systems, and ensuring ethical considerations are baked into the process.
I can definitely see how that would be a game changer, especially for those massive projects that require a ton of grunt work.
Exactly.
It's like having a tireless coding assistant who never complains about debugging.
And remember, ORPS excels at those complex programming tasks that require deep algorithmic reasoning.
Yeah.
This opens up exciting possibilities for fields like scientific computing, AI research, and even cybersecurity.
It's almost like unlocking a whole new level of problem-solving potential in areas that currently require massive amounts of human effort and expertise.
The research paper even touches on the possibility of running ORPS on devices like smartphones.
Really?
Imagine being able to develop sophisticated applications right from your phone.
Wow.
Without needing access to powerful servers or cloud computing.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
You would truly democratize access to powerful code generation tools.
Yeah.
Empowering anyone with a smartphone to create innovative solutions.
Now, of course, it's important to acknowledge that this technology is still in its early stages.
Right.
There are challenges to overcome, like ensuring the LLMs used in ORPS are trained on unbiased data.
Okay.
So the code they generate reflects those values.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful of the potential pitfalls
Right.
as we continue to develop and refine these systems.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even with those challenges in mind, the potential benefits of ORPS are simply too great to ignore.
I agree.
It's a glimpse into a future where AI and human programmers can work together to achieve truly remarkable things.
It's a future where we can leverage the strengths of both AI and human intelligence to create a world that's more efficient, innovative, and hopefully a little bit better.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
ORPS is not just a technological marvel. It's a testament to human ingenuity and our ability to push the boundaries of what's possible.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. We've gone from understanding the limitations of traditional LLM training methods to exploring a future where AI could revolutionize the way we write code.
And as always, we encourage you, dear listener, to continue exploring this topic.
Yeah.
Think about the implications of ORPS for your field of work for society as a whole, and for the future of human creativity.
That's it for this episode of The Deep Dive.
Great talking to you.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the world of AI-powered code generation.
See you next time.
Until next time, keep diving deeper. Keep asking questions.
Exactly.
And keep exploring the fascinating world around us.